Hi, my name is Jayoza. I coach people win with their speeches. And today's July 19th, and last night there was a speech given that has caused all kinds of controversy. And this was a speech given by Melania Trump at the Republican National Convention. And evidently, when I wake up this morning, I find out that there are certain parts of it she plagiarized from a speech that Michelle Obama had given in 2008 Democratic National Convention. This is inexcusable, especially for a high-stakes speech like this. And there are two things that I want to go over here. One is, when you are reading a speech, your bar for mistakes is very low. You just can't make mistakes. That's if you're reading a speech. You've written it. You've thought about it. You can't make mistakes. First of all, I tell people, don't read a speech unless they're good at it and it is absolutely necessary they read it, where they can't ad-lib anything, where a mistake can be magnified if they use the wrong word. But I don't think that happens that often, where you absolutely have to read a speech. It typically occurs in a very formal setting. I generally tell people to speak from the heart. Now, that doesn't mean you just wing it. You do have to prepare a lot for it. But there are so many advantages of doing it. You are going to connect better with your audience. The audience is going to not be picking on every single word you use because you're not using, script. And even if they come after you for any reason, you can say, listen, I made a mistake. It was not a written speech. And people expect that when you're giving a speech, it's not going to be perfect. As you can see, I'm not reading a speech, but you're more likely to be forgiving if I make a mistake with grammar, if my tenses are not right, if my pronunciation is messed up, even if my logic is not right, which may not be that excusable, but you may be somewhat forgiving that, he's speaking from the heart, and I just need to be kind of focused on what I'm saying. So let's get back to Melania Trump. The mistake really here is, at the end of the day, is Melania Trump. It's her speech. She's reading it. She's giving it. She's the one who people are watching on TV. Yes, she must have had help from a speechwriter, but at the end of the day, it's her speech. She had to be involved in the process. So by not picking this thing up, it makes her look like she's lazy, she is incompetent, and perhaps even stupid. Because you can't have a mistake like this. One of the things that I do when somebody comes to me and says, when I'm coaching them, says, I ask the question, simple question. I say, what do you want to say? And the person thinks like somehow I'm going to just come out of words and just magically make the speech sound like Martin Luther King I Have a Dream speech. I said, no. It's your speech. You're the one who's going to be in front of the audience, not me. I'm not the one giving the speech. So I have to be very careful that the speech is not written like I'm giving it. It has to be written like the person is giving it. So the first thing I'll tell the person is, tell me exactly what you want to say, and I'll record it. Okay, I'll record exactly what the person wants to say. I said, okay, let me ask you some questions on what are the things you want to communicate to the audience. And he or she will say, well, here's what I want to say this, here's what I want to say, here's this question. I said, how would you answer this question? Based on that, I will then craft a speech. So the speech is not going to sound anything different than what that person told me. I may tweak the arrangement around, some maybe add some ideas here and there, but at the end of the day, 80% of that speech is going to be what that person told me. That's it. I can't, if I'm not involved, if that person's not involved, then I'm basically creating my speech, and that person's going to be reading my speech, and that is I could write a great speech, but it could end in a disaster. That's what happened with Melania Trump. Evidently, this was not her speech, because otherwise, I doubt she would be going and looking at past speeches. What I would have told her was, tell me exactly what you want to say. And if somebody had looked at the previous First Lady's speech saying, okay, here are the main ideas, talk about your kids, talk about the country, talk about what you plan to do, talk about your vision, talk about something, and just give your ideas. But when there's plagiarism that takes place, even if it could be minor, it's just terrible. It's a disaster. It's not really a mistake. What that mistake really indicates, that you are phony, essentially. Let's face it, you're a phony, that you're trying to take credit for something that doesn't really is yours. And especially for a high stakes speech, you just can't do this. I don't know how they're going to try to get out of this, knowing that the Trump mode is never to apologize. I'm not sure this is going to work. It's on the video, and it really makes him look terrible. So what can we learn from this? The one thing you can learn from this is that even if you're reading a speech, you got to be involved. It's your speech. This is my speech. I'm giving it. If something is wrong with it, it's my fault entirely. I can't blame it on some speechwriter somewhere here. It could be my teenage son or my daughter or somebody like that. I'm the one who's standing here. It's my speech. At the end, I had to take the blame for whether it's good or bad. Okay, so that's the first thing. If you're going to read it, get involved with it. If you're going to get help from a speechwriter, let the speechwriter know where you really need the help. You can't make the speechwriter completely write a speech. Otherwise, you're not ready to give a speech. And I think everybody is ready to give a speech. They just don't know how ready they are. They need help, like from someone like myself, coaching them. The second thing is given a choice, don't read a speech. Just take your time, spend the time, get comfortable so that you can give a speech without looking at any notes, but you're going to have to prepare. And that's the problem. People don't realize how much time it takes to prepare. Now, in this particular situation at the convention, I'm pretty sure she had to read the speech. But the fault here is Melania Trump. She should have been more involved and said, look, this doesn't sound like me. This is not the way I talk. And that is the problem. Plagiarism is a very serious thing, and it's happening a lot. It's just it's hard to find nowadays because there's just so much content out there that you don't even know where people are picking things from. I always err on the side of, if something looks like something I could have heard, I will go on Google and look for it, even though it could be my thought, because I don't even want to create any doubt that that I've stolen some idea, or if there's a passage, then I will take it, quote it, and attribute it. It's safer to do that, and I don't think it diminishes me in any way. It just shows that I've done the research. That's what it shows. If for me to take credit for something is just not right. It's just it just makes you look lazy, and you will be caught sooner or later. It becomes a habit. Just a while back, a famous person on TV, Fareed Zakaria, ran into this problem. And what happens with people that are really famous and they're writing a lot, they're doing all kinds of stuff, appearing on TV and all that, they're the ones who are most likely to plagiarize. Not intentionally, unintentionally. And what happens is they have to employ a lot of writers because they can't write everything on their own. And sometimes a writer fighting a deadline will tend to plagiarize because they have to get something done. But then the person who's on the hook is the person whose name appears on the book, magazine, whatever, television show, even a blog, whatever. You just don't do that. And people don't realize that writing and checking and all that is tedious. It's a lot of work. Unless you got really good people who can check all that stuff out, it's a lot of work, and people are lazy, and everybody wants to show how prolific they are, and this is the reason why these mistakes happen. So I think if I were advising Melania Trump, not that she's going to come to me, I would just say just get on TV and just apologize and say, listen, I take full blame for this. I should have been more careful, and that's it. And put this thing to rest. That's it. Look, when a mistake, this is not like a big mistake. It's a big because the way the Trump folks are handling this, it's making it bigger. It happened, yes. Was she like purposely doing it? I don't know. I don't think so. But even if she did, she's been caught. And once you're caught, don't try to say, point fingers and say, oh, it was some lowly speechwriter. Take the blame, be the woman that you are, and take full blame for it, and then just move on. So that's my advice. Obviously, this has happened. My advice to you is don't get into this habit. Because once you get into this habit, you're going to get caught, because eventually you're going to get better and better. You know, if you're giving speech to, you shouldn't even do it at a local level. People do notice when they see something that sounds very familiar, okay? So avoid this at all cost, because when you get caught, your reputation is going to be ruined. Let me know what you think. And thank you for watching. And that's my thought of the day. What's your thought? Thank you.